Inside the gleaming chamber of the Galactic Council's observation center, the sudden appearance of Earth's warship, a silent, enigmatic silhouette born from a brutal Deathworld, shatters centuries of complacency. Alien observers grapple with disbelief and dread as humanity's quiet menace looms near. Meanwhile, aboard the ship, Commander Voss steels herself for the coming storm, ready to rewrite the galaxy's fate. The Council's observation chamber gleamed with cold luminescence, its polished floors reflecting the anxious faces of the alien delegates. Screens floated in midair, flickering with real-time data streams and spatial images from the outer rim sectors. But then, the feeds shifted. A shape emerged. Slow, silent, impossible. The Earth vessel. It's here. Jakor's mandibles clicked nervously. The three-eyed Zathar leaned forward, voice trembling. This is no ordinary ship. It hovers without thrusters. Its hull, black as void, absorbs all sensor scans. It's born of Deathworld. Good technology, isn't it? The chamber erupted in whispers and gasps. Elder representatives exchanged looks, shock bleeding into fear. "Is this an act of war?" demanded the tri-limbed Quran, his voice sharp. Another elder, cloaked in iridescent robes, muttered, "Earth was considered primitive, a savage backwater. We never expected." Suddenly, the chamber's main screen pulsed as the ship shifted position, an unblinking eye amidst the stars. Inside the warship, Commander Ira Voss stood in the command bridge's dim light. Her voice was steady, but a tempest raged beneath. "Silence is our shield." Around her, the crew moved like ghosts, a well-oiled machine forged in Deathworld sacrifice and human resilience. "This is not just a ship," Voss whispered. "It is the culmination of every secret we buried, every enemy we outlasted." Her second-in-command, Malik, glanced toward the main viewport, watching the Council's system signals flicker weakly. "They don't know we're here." Voss's eyes narrowed. They never did. A low hum echoed as the ship's gravity cloak engaged, rendering it nearly invisible. Back in the Council chamber, the Zathar paced erratically. "This changes everything," he muttered. "Why would Earth send such a weapon now, after centuries of silence?" The elder's voice cracked. "Because silence is no longer enough." On board the ship, Voss activated the countdown sequence etched into the core's interface. A red timer blinked. 3 minutes to strike. She turned to her crew. "Our war is silent, our message loud." The chamber's lights dimmed in unison. As the alien delegates watched, horrified, powerless to intervene, the silent warship hovered, a black shadow cast over the galaxy's hub, and Earth's long-hidden vengeance began. On Earth's Deathworld, the silent warship Obsidian Veil is, born of harsh environments and humanity's unyielding will to survive. Commander Ira Voss reflects on the brutal sacrifices made to forge this weapon, while the ship's crew prepares for the first strike. Meanwhile, alien reconnaissance teams scramble to understand this threat. Humanity's hidden technology, honed through centuries of Deathworld adversity, begins to rewrite galactic power dynamics. The sulphurous skies churned overhead, thick with swirling orange clouds streaked by occasional lightning. Below, the jagged obsidian-black mountains jutted sharply from the cracked red soil, a reminder of the Deathworld's brutal temperament. Dust storms whipped across the barren plateaus, carving canyons where rivers of molten rock once flowed. This was Earth, not the blue jewel of ancient myth, but a scarred crucible of survival, reshaped by humanity's relentless struggle. In the heart of this volatile wasteland, hidden within a cavernous valley, the Obsidian Veil loomed. Far from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council's fleets, this silent warship was a ghost, engineered with the very essence of the Deathworld itself. Its hull, forged from nanocarbon composites, layered with adaptive Metamaterials absorbed ambient radiation and deflected sensor scans, a ship designed not to announce its presence, but to vanish like a shadow until it struck. Commander Ira Voss surveyed the immense bay from the command platform. Her dark eyes reflected the flickering glow of plasma torches welding the last of the ship's armor. Behind her, engineers and soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, some injured, others exhausted, all fueled by grim determination. "We build, not just a warship," Voss said quietly, voice carrying over the hum of machinery. "We build a promise, a reckoning." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Malik, stepped up beside her, wiping grime from his face. "The adaptive cloaking array is operational. Initial tests show near-complete invisibility to all known sensor ranges." Voss nodded. "But the real weapon is what lies beneath the surface." She gestured toward the hull, where the living heart of the obsidian veil pulsed faintly. A quantum core intertwined with genetically engineered biosteel. "This ship is alive," Voss explained. "Nanites repair damage in seconds. Gravity. Fields distort enemy targeting, and our EMP arrays can cripple fleets without warning." Malik frowned. The Council never saw Deathworld tech as a threat. They never imagined Earth would turn their own galaxy against them. Voss's gaze hardened. "They underestimated us because they only saw a primitive planet, one they tried to crush with trade embargoes and sanctions. Yet, from that crucible," she said softly, "we forged strength born of sacrifice." Her mind drifted to the past, the scorched battlefields, the silent screams of fallen comrades, and the nights under choking skies where survival was the only law. She remembered the whispered legends told by the elders, stories of early colonists who fought off deadly biohazards, the mutated beasts that stalked the Shadowlands, and the ruthless council officials who declared Earth a failed experiment. "We were a threat they thought contained," Voss murmured, "but death breeds resilience." In a dimly lit chamber deep within the ship, Dr. Lena Carr, the chief scientist, adjusted the controls of the virus module, the quantum weapon designed to infiltrate and dismantle the Council's AI networks. Lena's face was pale, eyes reflecting. Endless nights spent perfecting the code. "This isn't just software," she told her assistant. "It's a digital storm built from nanobots and quantum entanglement. Once unleashed, it'll spread through their systems like wildfire." Her voice dropped. "And it's only the beginning." Outside, the sky rumbled again as another storm rolled over the Deathworld. The Obsidian Veil's massive engines hummed silently beneath the surface, drawing power from the planet's magnetic fields, ensuring energy efficiency and stealth. Meanwhile, in the Council's war room, the alien leaders scrambled to piece together fragmented reports. Admiral Yator paced before the holomap, fingers stabbing at blinking red dots representing their outposts under threat. "We've lost contact with the Alpha sectors," he growled. "The human ship moves like a ghost, disabling surveillance and communication grids." One of the younger delegates, with translucent skin shimmering nervously, whispered, "They said Earth was primitive. How could a single vessel wield such power?" Yator's eyes narrowed. "They've learned our weaknesses. Deep reconnaissance teams, sent after the Obsidian Veil, found nothing but empty space. The Deathworld's unique gravity fields and electromagnetic anomalies shielded the ship's approach, leaving nothing but confusion in their wake." Back on the ship, Voss gathered her senior officers in the command room. Maps of Council territories and fleet positions flickered before them. "We strike not to conquer," she said, "but to remind the galaxy of the price of silence." Malik's voice was grim. "The Council's response will be brutal." Voss's jaw tightened. "So will ours." A junior officer broke in. "Commander, sensors detect Council ships mobilizing near the nebula border. They're moving to intercept." Voss turned toward the viewport, watching distant starships emerge like vultures circling the horizon. Her voice dropped to steel. "We don't fight with brute force. We fight with precision, with patience, With fire they cannot see until it's too late. In a quiet moment, Voss recalled her childhood on Earth's Deathworld, a place where every breath was a battle and every victory a scar. She had learned early that survival demanded cunning and cruelty, and that sometimes the greatest weapon was silence. As the obsidian veil began its slow ascent through the atmosphere, cloaking fields, shimmering like ripples in the air, the crew braced, every heartbeat with the knowledge that from the depths of a forsaken world, humanity's silent warship hovered now, a dark promise aimed at the Council's heart. The galaxy would never see them coming. As the obsidian veil silently approaches Council space, alien fleets scramble to respond, their fear deepening into panic. Inside the ship, tensions rise among the crew as the weight of the mission and the cost of vengeance weighs heavily on Commander Voss. Meanwhile, a Council intelligence officer uncovers a horrifying truth about humanity's hidden capabilities. The stage is set for a confrontation that will shatter centuries of complacency. The vast blackness of space stretched endlessly before the obsidian veil, a shadow cloaked in stealth, moving with eerie purpose. Far behind, the pale blue-green glow of Earth was a distant memory, but every man and woman aboard carried its savage legacy in their bones. Commander Ira Voss stood alone on the observation deck, eyes fixed on the swirling starfields beyond the reinforced glass. Her thoughts churned, a mix of steel resolve and unspoken grief. They were hunters now, not of prey, but of justice. "Commander," Malik's voice interrupted the silence. She turned to see the first officer stepping forward, face grave. "We're approaching Council border coordinates. Sensor arrays are flickering, intermittent, but we've confirmed multiple fleet mobilizations." Voss's jaw clenched. "They know we're coming," Malik nodded. "Ships are positioning. They're desperate to find us." A tense hush fell over the command deck. The crew, trained for silence and efficiency, felt the invisible pressure tighten. Voss's voice cut through the tension. "We don't give them the satisfaction. Maintain cloaking and EM interference fields. Engage defensive systems only if absolutely necessary." Her gaze swept across the faces of her crew. "Remember why we fight. Remember every Deathworlder who screamed in silence, every colony crushed by the Council's greed." Deep inside the warship's data core, Dr. Lena Carr's fingers danced across holographic keys, orchestrating the quantum virus that would fracture the Council's AI networks. Her screen flickered as lines of code cascaded like a digital waterfall. "This virus doesn't just disable," she murmured. "It rewrites their systems, turns their own fleets against them." Suddenly an alert blared. "Commander! Incoming transmission. Council flagships requesting immediate communication." Voss's eyes narrowed. "Patch it through." The bridge's holocom flickered, revealing the snarling visage of Admiral Yitor, his 3 eyes burning with fury. "Earthlings," his voice crackled, "you trespass in Council space with a ship unknown and unseen. Surrender immediately or face annihilation." Voss's reply was calm, voice cold as death. "Admiral, you silenced Deathworlders. You crushed colonies with lies. We are the reckoning you created." She cut the feed. Alarms screamed as Council fleets surged closer. The first wave of fighters blazed past the obsidian veil, their weapons scanning for a target that flickered like a ghost. "Activate pulse disruption," Voss ordered. Energy rippled from the ship. A silent EMP wave washing over enemy scanners and disabling their targeting arrays. Confusion erupted in the Council fleets. Systems failing. They're cloaked. Our sensors are useless. Malik grimaced. "They underestimated us. They always..." "Oh." Meanwhile, in the Council's war room, panic was spreading like wildfire. "The Earth warship uses technology none of us understand," the youngest delegate gasped. "How is this possible?" the elder demanded. "Have we been blind for centuries?" Back aboard the obsidian veil, Voss stood over the strategic map. "The virus is ready," she said. "Once deployed, it will cripple their fleet command systems. We hit them where it hurts." Malik's voice was low. "And if they survive the initial strike?" Voss met his gaze steadily. "Then we finish this in the shadows they fear." The crew braced as the ship slipped through the nebula's edges, a perfect hiding place for the strike. Sensors tracked Council flagship formations, unaware of the storm heading their way. Suddenly, a shudder rippled through the ship. Impact. "Detected!" a voice called. A plasma missile slammed into the starboard shield. "Shields holding," Malik reported. Voss clenched her fists. "They've found us." On the bridge, the crew worked feverishly, nanobots swarming outside to repair. "Microfractures?" Lena's voice came over the comm. "Virus deployment ready?" Voss nodded. "Release it." A pulse of quantum nanobots launched, invisible, silent. The virus infiltrated Council networks in seconds, spreading through command nodes. Back in the Council's flagship, screens flickered, systems rebooted, and alarms screamed betrayal. Fleet targeting corrupted, weapons firing on our own ships. Chaos exploded across the Council armada. Fighters turned on their capital ships. Support vessels became death traps. In the Obsidian Veil, the crew watched the unfolding destruction. Victory was close, but Voss knew the war was far from over. Later, in the silence of her quarters, Voss removed her command insignia. She stared at the small emblem, a reminder of the humanity they fought for. A single tear traced a line down her cheek. "Why are they like this?" she whispered into the void, a question that would echo long after the stars burned out. The silent warship hovered on the edge of destruction and salvation, born from a Deathworld aimed at the heart of the Council. Humanity's revenge had only just begun. The aftermath of the Obsidian Veil's first strike leaves the Council fleet fractured and desperate. Commander Voss confronts the personal toll of the war, wrestling with ghosts from Earth's dark past. Meanwhile, the alien council scrambles to adapt, turning to forbidden weapons and brutal tactics. The fragile line between humanity's vengeance and mercy begins to blur, threatening to consume everyone involved. The stars outside the viewport shimmered cold and indifferent witnesses to the brutal dance unfolding within the shadows of space. The Obsidian Veil drifted just beyond sensor range, cloaked in silence, its hull humming softly with the pulse of quantum cores and nanotech repairs. Commander Ira Voss sat in the dim glow of the command room, her mind a battlefield as fierce as any warship engagement. The destruction wrought on the Council fleet had been devastating. Entire squadrons turned to ashes, capital ships ravaged by corrupted AI and crippling EMP pulses. But victory tasted bitter beneath the weight of lives lost and futures shattered. Malik approached quietly, his footsteps almost reverent. "Commander," he began, "the Council isn't retreating. They're digging in deeper, mobilizing shadow fleets with weapons we've only heard of in myths." Voss didn't look up. "They're desperate, and desperate breeds cruelty." Across the deck, technicians ran damage assessments and repaired fractured systems with practiced urgency. Nanobots swarmed along battle scars, shimmering like living stitches binding wounds. Voss rose, walking to the viewport. Below them, the swirling nebula obscured the shattered remnants of the Council's fleet. The silence between the stars was deafening. "Why did they call Earth a death world?" Malik asked softly, as if speaking. "Louder might wake ghosts." Voss inhaled deeply. "Because survival on Earth was a war within itself," she said. "Poisoned skies, mutated beasts, and endless struggle. Every generation tested to breaking." She turned, eyes glinting with fierce pride. "We are the children of that crucible. Hardened, relentless, unyielding." Her thoughts drifted to her home planet's scorched wastelands, to the sacrifices made by those who refused to bow. She remembered the siege of New Eden, an outpost burned to cinders where thousands fell. Silent in the dust, a memory flickered, Her father, his face streaked with soot and blood, whispering, "Fight for every breath, Ira, for every lost soul." That fight was now theirs. The Council had declared Earth a failed experiment, a primitive backwater unworthy of respect. They had crushed colonies, silenced voices, and forgotten that beneath every broken world was a heartbeat that refused to die. In the ship's medbay, Lieutenant Jara patched wounds on the soldiers who had survived skirmishes in orbit. Her hands were steady, but her eyes betrayed exhaustion. "Another casualty report," she said quietly, handing Voss a datapad. Voss scanned the numbers. Friends and comrades, some missing, many fallen. Malik's voice broke the silence. "War costs everything, but we fight so the cost isn't in vain." Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. "Incoming transmission from Council Warlord Rethar," the comm officer announced. Voss stiffened. Rethar was notorious for ruthless tactics and brutal enforcement. The holocom flickered to life, revealing Rethar's twisted visage, scarred by countless battles. "Earth scum," he snarled. "Your shadow games end now. We bring the wrath of Council justice." His image fractured and vanished. "Prepare for counterattack," Voss ordered. The ship shifted, weapons powering up beneath the stealth. Meanwhile, in the Council's war chamber, panic and rage simmered beneath layers of icy protocol. "We cannot allow this primitive species to defy us," the High Councillor demanded. "Deploy the Death Seeds." Whispers filled the corridors. The Death Seeds, ancient bioweapons buried in forgotten systems, capable of turning entire planets into barren wastelands. Back on Obsidian Vale, Lena's eyes widened as reports came in. "Rethar's fleet is armed, with biomunitions unlike anything we've seen." Voss's face hardened. "Their war is one of extinction." As the ship moved closer to the border, every crew member felt the mounting tension. Every silent heartbeat echoed a promise. They would survive, they would fight, and they would not forget. In the quiet moments before the storm, Voss stood alone. Again, she whispered to the void, "For every Deathworlder silenced, we rise." The war was no longer just about ships and fleets. It was about vengeance born of fire, sacrifice, and the unbreakable will of humanity. The Obsidian Vale pushes deeper into hostile Council space, facing relentless pursuit and brutal counterattacks. Commander Voss leads her crew through desperation and sacrifice, unveiling hidden technologies and ancient Earth tactics long forgotten by the galaxy. Meanwhile, the Council's fractured command resorts to savage bioweapons, igniting a conflict that threatens to engulf entire star systems. Humanity's silent warship is no longer a ghost. It's a reckoning. The cold void outside was pierced by sudden bursts of light, plasma bolts streaking across the black, traces in a deadly dance. Council warships had found them. Evasive. "Maneuvers," Voss barked. The Obsidian Vale shuddered as volleys of weapons hammered its shields. Energy rippled over the hull like angry waves, but the Deathworld ship held steady. "Deploy countermeasures," Malik shouted. Nanobots flared outward, creating shimmering fields that distorted enemy targeting sensors. The ship dipped and weaved with uncanny agility, slipping through narrow asteroid belts and nebula clouds. Below decks, Lena Carr's fingers flew over consoles, launching defensive protocols and hacking algorithms designed to cripple pursuing vessels. "Virus modules ready," she announced. Voss nodded sharply. "Activate." In moments, Council ships were thrown into chaos. Their systems scrambled, targeting locked on friend instead of foe, engines misfiring in confusion. The Obsidian Vale exploited the turmoil, accelerating deeper into contested space. But the battle was far from over. "Commander," a soldier reported breathlessly, "bioweapon pods detected on the next planet's surface. Death Seeds." Voss's eyes darkened. "Those monsters," she muttered. "They'll burn the world just to choke our advance." The Council sought to starve humanity of allies, planets that had resisted subjugation, Deathworld colonies with their own scars and stories. Each was a potential sanctuary. The Obsidian Veil altered course toward the nearest colony, a barren world scarred by volcanic eruptions and toxic storms. Earth's harsh legacy writ large. "Prepare for atmospheric entry," Voss ordered. The ship's massive engines flared, piercing the thick clouds as it descended into the planet's toxic atmosphere. Inside the command chamber, tension coiled tighter. External scans indicate the death seeds have been deployed. The surface is a death trap. Yet amidst the destruction, signs of resistance flickered in sensor data, pockets of survivors hiding in caverns and underground shelters. Malik clenched his fists. "We can't let them fall." Voss's jaw tightened. "We'll deliver aid, strike the Council where they think we're weakest." Deploying a squadron of elite soldiers in stealth dropships, the Obsidian Veil launched a daring rescue operation beneath the planet's choking skies. The soldiers moved through sulphurous mists and jagged rock formations, their armor gleaming. Against the dark, each step was a fight. Poisonous gases, engineered beasts twisted by Council bioweapons, and the ever-present threat of patrols. In the caverns, survivors huddled, faces gaunt and eyes haunted by loss. "We thought the galaxy forgot us," whispered an elder. Voss knelt beside him. "We didn't forget," she promised. "We're here." Back in orbit, Council fleets regrouped, furious at the Obsidian Veil's defiance. Rethar's voice boomed across comm channels. "You cannot hide behind Deathworld filth. Surrender or witness the galaxy burn." Voss stared into the void. "We fight not just for survival," she said softly, "but for every voice they tried to silence." The battle for the colony erupted into chaos. Explosions shook the caverns as Council dropships descended. The Obsidian Veil unleashed its hidden weapon, a gravity pulse generator that twisted space-time around enemy vessels, ripping ships apart with brutal efficiency. Council forces faltered, but their desperation grew more savage. On the planet's surface, the elite squad faced horrors beyond war. Engineered monstrosities, warped by Council science, mindless killers. "Bred to exterminate. We fight like Deathworlders," Malik growled, "because we are." Through fire and blood, humanity's fury burned bright. The Obsidian Veil hovered above, a silent guardian born of sacrifice, bearing the weight of 1,000 fallen worlds. And as the battle raged, Voss whispered to the stars, "This is just the beginning." With the colony secured but scarred, Commander Voss wrestles with the fine line between vengeance and compassion. As the Obsidian Veil presses deeper, she discovers that not all enemies are heartless. Some Council worlds secretly yearn for peace. But trust is a fragile currency in this galaxy of shadows. Meanwhile, Earth's Deathworld tactics and advanced nanotech continue to turn the tide, forcing the Council into desperate and horrifying countermeasures. The burned landscape stretched beneath the Obsidian Veil, silent except for the distant crackle of dying fires and the occasional tremor shaking the scorched earth. Inside the ship, the mood was heavy. The colony's survivors had been evacuated, but the cost weighed on every soul aboard. Malik stood beside. "Boss in the command chamber, another world lost to Council cruelty," he said quietly. Voss nodded, but also a spark lit in the darkness. Her thoughts drifted to the faces of those rescued, worn, weary, but alive. "Why are we so different?" she whispered. "Why do we fight with fire when others surrender to ash?" Lena Carr entered, eyes bright with a mix of excitement and concern. "Commander, new intel from our deep scans." She brought up holographic maps of a Council world on the edge of chaos, a planet not unlike Earth, a death world by their standards, but still holding pockets of resistance and hope. "They want to talk," Lena said. Voss's gaze sharpened. "Talk or trap?" The ship adjusted course, moving with cautious optimism. As they approached the Council planet, sensors detected unusual signals, encrypted but distinctly human in pattern. In the quiet of the war room, Voss and Malik debated. Could this be a chance for peace? Malik asked. Or a snare to crush us, Voss replied. Yet the hope was too strong to ignore. A small diplomatic shuttle was prepared, cloaked in stealth and armed lightly, carrying Voss and a handful of trusted officers, landing on the hostile surface. They were met not by enemies, but by faces twisted with fear and defiance, Council scientists and dissidents desperate for change. We are prisoners of the Council's tyranny, one whispered. Help us. Negotiations began in shadows and whispers, but trust was scarce. Back on the Obsidian Veil, Lena worked feverishly to decrypt Council files smuggled by the dissidents. She uncovered secrets that chilled her, plans for widespread genetic manipulation, turning entire species into Council slaves or weapons. Voss, she said over comm, their war is not just military, it's genocide. The revelation hardened Voss's resolve. We fight for more than Earth. We fight for every Deathworlder they sought to erase. The Obsidian Veil prepared to strike at the heart of the Council's bioweapons program. But as the attack commenced, Council forces unleashed their latest terror, nanotech swarms designed to consume and corrupt. The ship's defenses strained under the assault, systems flickering. Voss ordered an emergency release of the ship's own nanotech countermeasures, adaptive swarms that healed the hull and dismantled enemy machines. The battle was brutal and personal. Throughout it all, Voss grappled with the cost of war, of vengeance, of the thin line between survival and becoming monsters. In a rare moment of silence, Malik asked her, "Do we risk becoming what we hate?" She looked out at the stars. "No," she said firmly, "because we remember who we are." The fight continued, but amidst the ashes of war, whispers of mercy and hope flickered like fragile embers. Humanity's silent warship hovered still, born from death, driven by resolve, and destined to change the fate of the galaxy. As fragile, alliances form. The Council's internal fractures widen, sparking a deadly power struggle. Commander Voss navigates treacherous political games and covert betrayals, both within her crew and among alien defectors. The Obsidian Veil faces its deadliest enemies yet, both external and internal, while humanity's will to survive becomes a force none can ignore. Every victory comes at a price, and the lines between friend and foe blur into shadows. The war room was thick with tension. Holographic displays flickered erratically, showing fractured Council communications, intercepted transmissions, and encrypted messages. "They're tearing themselves apart," Lena murmured, eyes scanning the data. Voss paced the length of the chamber. "Their command is fracturing faster than we predicted." "Good," Malik said grimly. "Divide and conquer." But Voss wasn't so sure. Their desperation could make them more dangerous. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Breach detected!" a voice shouted. Security cameras showed masked figures infiltrating the Obsidian Veil's lower decks. "Saboteurs!" Voss snarled. "They're inside!" The crew scrambled, weapons raised. In the corridors, chaos erupted as firefights broke out. Voss grabbed her rifle, racing toward the breach. Malik intercepted a wounded alien defector, clutching a data chip. "They want to betray us," Malik said, reading the alien's pleading eyes. "But we need that chip." Back on the bridge, Voss confronted one of the saboteurs, a Council assassin cloaked in mimicry tech. The assassin's voice was cold. "Your war ends here," Voss responded with quiet fury. "Only if you kill me first." A brutal fight ensued. Blades clashed, guns fired in staccato bursts, and the ship shook with the force of explosions. Meanwhile, Lena decrypted the stolen data. It revealed a shadow faction within the Council planning to unleash a galaxy-wide EMP strike to cripple humanity's technology and force unconditional surrender. Countdown started, Lena warned. Voss's mind raced. Full alert, prepare countermeasures. The crew worked feverishly, deploying hardening protocols, EMP shields, and backup systems. But trust had been shattered. In quiet moments, Voss confronted Malik. Who can we trust? Malik's gaze was heavy. Only each other, and even that's not certain. The obsidian veil sailed into a storm of betrayal and war. In the shadows, allies became enemies, and enemies whispered promises of mercy to sow discord. Voss's voice was a steel blade cutting through the darkness. We fight not just to survive, but to expose every shadow, every lie. The battle for the soul of the galaxy was no longer just about ships and weapons. It was about truth, and who was brave enough to wield it. The Obsidian Veil launches a decisive strike against the Council's heart, forcing an all-out confrontation that shakes the galaxy's foundations. Voss faces impossible decisions, sacrifices and betrayals, as the warship's silent war turns into a tidal wave of retribution. The boundary between hunter and hunted blurs, and humanity's raw, Deathworld-born resilience tests the limits of power and mercy in a merciless cosmos. The Obsidian Veil slipped through the outer defenses of the Council's capital system, a vast sprawl of worlds held together by fear and steel. Voss stood at the helm, her eyes sharp as the stars flickered. This is it," she said quietly. "The heart of the beast." Malik's voice was steady beside her. "They won't surrender, they'll fight to the last. Then we'll give them a fight they'll never forget." Inside the war room, Lena coordinated systems with surgical precision, nanotech swarms primed for infiltration, EMP shields at maximum, gravity pulses ready. The Council's fleet massed in response, a glittering armada of sleek warships, bio-engineered dreadnoughts, and deadly drone carriers. "Brace for impact," Voss ordered. The battle erupted like a supernova. Energy beams cut through space, tearing through shields and hulls. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers in the void. The Obsidian Veil danced between death and destruction, her advanced cloaking tech rendering her nearly invisible. Inside the carnage, Voss led boarding parties, fighting alongside her soldiers with fierce determination. "Remember who we are," she shouted. "We are Deathworlders. We do not break." Council commanders faltered, their confidence shattered by humanity's relentless assault, but the warship's most deadly weapon was yet to be unleashed. Voss authorized activation of the gravity pulse generator, a device capable of ripping enemy ships apart by distorting the very fabric of space-time. The pulse surged outward, shattering fleets and sending survivors into panic. Still, the Council's resolve hardened. Desperate, they unleashed their last card, a bio-engineered titan, a creature of nightmare forged in Deathworld labs, designed to hunt and destroy the Obsidian Veil. The battle turned brutal. Voss faced the titan. In the ship's corridors, their clash echoing with fury and steel. With grit and sacrifice, she led her crew to victory, but at a heavy cost. The Obsidian Veil limped from the battlefield, scarred but unbroken. In the aftermath, Voss contemplated. "The true cost of war. We win today," she said softly, "but tomorrow is another fight." The galaxy had witnessed the reckoning tide, and humanity's silent warship was the herald of a new era. The final confrontation between humanity and the Council erupts with unprecedented ferocity. Commander Voss leads the Obsidian Veil into the Council's core, confronting betrayals, sacrifices, and the ultimate test of humanity's spirit. As the silent warship hovers over the ruins of empire, the galaxy's fate hinges on mercy or total annihilation. In the end, humanity's legacy is sealed, not just as warriors born of Deathworlds, but as architects of a new galactic dawn. The void beyond the Council's central system was a cold, endless black. Stars blinked out one by one as the obsidian veil breached the final defensive perimeter. Voss stood alone on the bridge, the hum of the ship her only company. Behind her, the crew prepared for the final battle, hearts pounding, nerves steel-wrapped. "This is the endgame," Voss whispered. "Everything we fought for, everything we lost, it all comes down to this." A sharp alert shattered the silence. "Multiple Council dreadnoughts approaching fast," Lena reported, eyes scanning the cascading data. "They've brought their last and worst." Malik's voice cut through comms, steady but grim. "They know what's at stake, so do we." The obsidian veil's cloaking faltered under the heavy barrage. Energy beams pierced the hull, systems flickering under the relentless assault. "Shields holding at 50%, Lena said, voice tight. Voss gritted her teeth. "Prepare the gravity pulse. We end this here." The pulse charged, filling the ship with a low, terrifying vibration, a force capable of bending space itself. Outside, the Council fleet surged forward, a tidal wave of death. Then, silence. The gravity pulse detonated, ripping through enemy ships like paper, twisting metal and mines. Explosions bloomed, a supernova of destruction. Amid the chaos, Voss received a signal, not a threat, but a plea. A Council diplomat's voice, raw and desperate. "Enough bloodshed. We offer peace." Voss hesitated. The faces of Earth's Deathworld survivors flashed before her. Sacrifice, resilience, hope. "Peace," she murmured. "But at what cost?" The diplomat answered honestly. "Reform, shared power, an end to the silence." A silence fell over the bridge. Malik broke it softly. "Do we trust them?" Voss looked out at the shattered stars. "We survived their worst. Now we must survive ourselves." The obsidian veil powered down weapons. Communications opened. "Let this be the last war," Voss declared. "For every Deathworlder silenced, let their voices rise." The galaxy trembled, not with fear, but with the promise of a new dawn. From the ashes of war, humanity emerged not just as warriors, but as the heralds of hope. The silent warship hovered, a symbol, a warning, and a promise, and the stars, for the first time in eons, shone brighter than ever before. The end